It's a quick trip to the Pacific Northwest on a busy weekend for the Orange and Blue before coming home to take on the Pens tomorrow night. We get you set for the Oilers and Kraken on the Oil Stream pregame show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the pregame show. Tom Gazzola, Shawn Belle, in for Matty Cassian, YouTube Trev, making things happen back there behind the scenes. He is crack-a-lacking today.
Yes, he is.
That boy is busting his butt.
That lip room is humming.
He is killing it. He's big smile on his face. We're happy to be here on this Saturday afternoon. Yes, a double dose of Oilers hockey this weekend. They take on the Pittsburgh Penguins in Edmonton tomorrow night. But first, it is a matinee matchup against the Seattle Kraken. Of course, you can get in on the conversation, and we highly encourage you to 780-218-9999 or via the nasty chat if you're watching on our EST YouTube channel. Belsey, we have surpassed 7,000 subscribers,
Glorious.
which is great. On our way to 7,100. Let's keep it going. Word of mouth. All that good stuff. And then iHeartRadio, you can listen to us there. Maybe you are right now. Tune in, as well as our live audio stream. The iHeart is a great ad.
100%.
Tune in was a great ad. And then our live audio stream continues to be an excellent source as well.
Yeah, the good times keep rolling.
They keep rolling.
It's fantastic to see. So
built this bad boy up. We had a fun show on Hello Hockey today. Jonathan Torrens. We had Ryan Marsh and Dave Pagnotta. Lots of texts still coming in about Jonathan Torrens.
Bill J to the ROC.
To the ROC, man.
Unreal.
Yeah,
he was good.
You can check that out, the replay of it, of course, on YouTube. And we had a great time with Jonathan, who says he might be coming to town for some Oilers action because he is a big Edmonton Oilers fan. Later this month, and he's like, maybe I need to crash at your place, Bob. Yeah. And I was like, I got a guest room, so come on by. I live right across the street from the arena.
Yeah, you can stop in. You can stay at my house.
Yeah.
As long as you are J-Rock for the entirety of the weekend.
I would not do that to him. Although he would
he probably would do it.
He would oblige. Yeah, he's great. And some great stories that he shared with us on Hello Hockey, so check it out. All right, we shift our focus now to the Oilers and the Seattle Kraken. Edmonton 35-20-2, the Kraken 26-22-11. This is a team in Seattle 7 points back going into action tonight of a wild card spot. This is a Seattle team that has also rattled off 3 wins in its last 4 games. It's beaten the Boston Bruins twice in the last couple of weeks. They beat the Vancouver Canucks recently as well. They just beat the Pittsburgh Penguins. So even though they're kind of out of it, Belsey, like they're looking to.
Oh, they're playing desperate hockey.
Desperate hockey. Thank you.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, they're at a point now where because they're 7 points back, they know we got to get going, or we're not going to be in the playoffs.
Right.
So you've got a desperate team. They're playing solid defensively,
getting the results.
They play with pace. They have their forecheck has been one of their calling cards the last couple seasons. So it's going to be an interesting matchup, and I definitely think that the Oilers, they have to be ready for this game. They can't come in sleepy because this is a team that if they get up, they're going to lock you down.
The Oilers, of course, with the win over the St. Louis Blues, that's important. They close out that 5-game homestand with a couple of victories. The big one against the LA Kings, certainly, and then get it done against St. Louis. You know, this team in Edmonton has been a little bit leaky defensively. The PK was certainly leaky, but they not totally redeemed themselves, Belsey. You look at a homestand where they go 2-2-1. They lose to Minnesota. They lose to Calgary. I said that made it a disappointing homestand, regardless of the wins at the end of the homestand, especially considering how well they had been playing going into the break. How do you think the Oilers are approaching this matinee game?
Well, like I said, they have the opportunity here to move past Vegas, and I mentioned that they can't be sleepy. So you come into these matinee games, and they're hard games sometimes to get up for because it's at a time that you're not accustomed to playing.
Right.
But that can't be an excuse. You got to take care of business. You want home dates in the playoffs.
Yes.
So you have the opportunity right now because you still have 3 games in hand on Vegas. You get your win, you're now in second spot in the Pacific Division. That's what you want.
Right.
So right now they're going to be hungry for that win. Obviously on that homestand, like you just mentioned, they went 2-2-1. They need to kind of redeem themselves. Yes, they've won their last couple games, which is fantastic, but at the same time, those games there were probably times where you can maybe make up a little bit of ground.
Mm-hmm. The Golden Knights, if they do lose in regulation today, and Edmonton does win in regardless, regulation, OT, shootout, whatever. Edmonton, like you mentioned, can surpass the Golden Knights, 1 point back of them, like Belsey said. But the Golden Knights would have to lose in Buffalo, one of 13 games on the sked. It's a busy Saturday in the NHL. After a quiet night last night, just the 3 games. Arizona beat Ottawa 5-3. Washington beat Philly 5-2. And Anaheim got the better of the Devils. The Devils, man. Uh-oh. Not good.
They're in trouble right now.
6 points back, 22 games remaining. Will they go and make a pitch for Markstrom? We heard on Hello Hockey, Dave Pagnotta said that they did circle back on Markstrom to the Calgary Flames, but we'll see if they pull off a big trade. Right now, Carolina and Winnipeg tied, 13 minutes left in the third period. You got Florida in Detroit coming up right away here in about 20 minutes' time, and then the Oilers get the Kraken in Seattle. You talk about how interesting this matchup is, and you can't let the matinee element of it get to you. Edmonton's certainly better in matinees in recent years. You as a player, how would you handle the matinee? You loved them?
I absolutely
Why?
loved them. I don't know. It's just, to me, it was like just a perfect time. You could then finish your game. You can still get out for dinner. You can enjoy your night and then still get to bed at a regular time, decent time.
Right.
You already know how I feel about the 8 o'clock games. I think they're absurd. So I'd rather play, a matinee game without question.
Right. Well, you get one today. You're not playing. You're just broadcasting today. You're covering it. So, all right. We're going to get into some texts. We'll get into the nasty chat, 780-218-9999, and then nasty chat if you're watching on our YouTube channel. We will get to Mike Benton from the Kraken Audio Network, our good friend, later on in the show to give us the scoop on the Seattle Kraken, playing better of late, but still on the outside looking in, running out of time. I think Benton's probably going to, call it a hunch, allude to baseball in some of his cliches that he uses, as one does. The Wolf says, shh, you guys, I'm sneaking my phone so I can get just a bit of that EST content. Hope the boys are super nice to Ebb so we can convince him to come back home for playoffs. Do you like the idea of Jordan Eberle back at Edmonton? There has been some chatter there. I know the Oilers are open to anything to make their top 6 better.
Let me preface this by saying,
your former teammate, by the way.
My former teammate is one of I enjoyed playing with him. He was a good teammate. I got along well with him. I think a lot of the guys love the guy. I think that he's got a lot of relationships with current players. Mm-hmm. But I don't like that move.
Joaquin Gage in the house.
Gay Gager.
Hi, Joaquin.
I don't like it.
Okay.
I don't like it. I think the Oilers don't need smaller skill guys. They need to be harder team to play against, because when you go up against the Vegases of the world, when you go up against potentially the Florida Panthers,
right,
the Dallas Stars, groups like that are bigger, they can skate, and they're heavy.
Yep.
You don't need to be a smaller team. You need to be able to play that way. You need to be able to play every single style that's out there and be comfortable in that. I'm not necessarily sure that Eberle helps that.
Yeah, the offensive jam that he provides is great, but like you said, a smaller player. He has 35 points in 55 games, so he's having a pretty good offensive season.
Good year.
Yeah, absolutely. But I have time for Jordan Eberle.
Yep.
But I don't know if he's the right guy.
Correct.
And I think too, part of why I didn't necessarily poo-poo the proponent of getting Jake Gensel to Edmonton, because he's an excellent player, great scorer. I don't know if he's the right guy for this lineup. Like, you have a ton of offensive punch, but don't you want to, I would prefer a bigger body guy. Well, and I think it goes back to what you were saying about playing that heavy type of hockey game with skill.
Well, we look back at the move that they made last year in Bukestad.
Yes.
Everybody's like, Bukestad's a perfect fit. Well, that's what they need, because when they played the Vegas Golden Knights, all of a sudden you weren't necessarily getting pushed around as much.
Right.
Yes, there were still certain guys and certain times, where they pushed back and they started to carry the play. But for the most part, like, Edmonton was able to sit there and be like, hey, it's blow for blow. We're going to slug this thing out.
Yeah.
And that's what you need in the playoffs. It's a battle of attrition.
Yes.
And once again, I got a lot of time for Eberle, just like you mentioned, but I don't know if that's the right piece. You have to be able to, hey, let's go. We're good. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter. You want to play super physical? Great. That's fine. And Eberle, to as good of a player he is, I don't think he's a fit that they need.
That's fair. That's fair. We'll see what the Oilers do. Deadline day, Friday, March 8th, and all kinds of rumors flying around. Check the replay of Hello Hockey. Dave Pagnotta went through the Oilers, the Flames, and the Canucks, and gave a good synopsis of what is going on with all three. And then, obviously, Oiler fans will appreciate what Dave had to say. He's on top of it, man.
Yes, he is.
He had the Elias Pettersson deal.
We had to give him a gentleman's clap. It was beautiful.
He had that on our show, last week?
Yep.
Yeah. So, pays to watch Hello Hockey.
Yeah. Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. All right. Nerdin Punk says, good afternoon, nasties. Ryan says, from St. Albert, boys. Hockey Night in Edmonton says, puppet show matinee. The Wolf also adds, in Tumbler Ridge, watching on the lowest data setting, service is very low, and the boys still look great. Andrew E. says, afternoon all. Quaddy says, tricky game today. Wake up on time, Oil.
Couldn't agree more.
I understand, and I agree too, but what holds guys back, or what can be a detriment for players in these afternoons? You said you loved them.
I really
But I'm assuming you went to bed at a good hour, regardless of where you are on the road. And didn't.
Are you trying to allude to something, Tom?
You didn't go for an extra
You never
beverage.
overextended your stay at certain places?
Correct. You
That's
were a
fair.
responsible pro. Unlike Joaquin. I'm just kidding, Joaquin.
Yeah, Gagers, I was out.
I was out.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're tricky games because once again, this could be right in the middle of your pregame nap.
Good
so now all of a
point.
sudden your body's getting accustomed. Okay, we play 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock. This is the time where I'm going down for my nap, and people probably are like, well, that's craziness. Well, no, that's what they do. They go down for their naps. So you're right in the middle of that time. And so now you're saying, okay, well, instead of winding down to go for the nap, you're trying to actually get your body going. So it's just a weird time, and it's a hard time to now all of a sudden jump into a game. So it is what it is, but they cannot be sleepy. And the biggest piece of that is there's been a lot of times throughout the season where the Oilers, they come out sleepy, team gets a goal, they're up 2 goals, and now we got to battle back. That's hard to do on a consistent basis. The one-offs here and there, whatever, that's fine. But when you're consistently saying, okay, well, now in the second and third period, we got to push harder than normal, that's very taxing on the body.
Right.
And you don't want to have those things leading up to playoffs. You want to be in fine form. You want to be rolling. You want to be comfortable, and you want to be good, not having to consistently push the pace more.
Drain the battery.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into starting lineups for this afternoon's game. Here's what we're anticipating. The Oilers skating yesterday before flying out to Seattle. The Kraken, we'll get to their lineup as well. For the Oil, McDavid between Draisaitl and Hyman. Nugent Hopkins centering Kane and Janmark. McLeod between Fogle and Perry. Derek Ryan centering Holloway and Brown. That means no Sam Gagner today, I should say. Nurse paired up with Ceci. Ekholm with Bouchard. Kulak with Desharnais. I guess the only thing I would ask you is, do you like Nugent Hopkins with Kane, and are you surprised Janmark's staying up there?
I'm not necessarily surprised. I mean, we've talked about it before. The last time I was on this show. Janmark is kind of like a jack of all trades. He has the ability to go up higher in the lineup for small doses and small amounts of time and be effective. Mm-hmm. He's good on the forecheck. He's got good pace. That's what they kind of need. But to me, I still would like to see McDavid and Draisaitl split up, because I think that's when you have the most punch in your lineup.
Absolutely.
Because now you say to the opposing team, which line do you want to deal with? When you're loaded up, yes, they go supernova. Yes, they're the 2 most skilled players on the planet, arguably. Mm-hmm. And you got Hyman, who's having a career year. But you don't want to just load up that one line. You want to put a little bit of balance into your lineup and be able to consistently challenge teams to try to defend you.
Yeah, create that depth. They have it, but they're sticking with McDavid, Draisaitl. Looks like going into action this afternoon. All right, for the Kraken, Matty Beniers between Jared McCann and Jordan Eberle, the aforementioned Jordan Eberle. Alex Wenberg centering Jaden Schwartz and Oliver Bjorkstrand. Yanni Gord was between Eli Tolvanen and Ty Cartier. And Kyler Yamamoto centering Tomas Tatar and Brandon Tanev. The one, and we'll check in with Benton when he joins us in about 10 to 15 minutes to keep an eye out for, is Alexander Burakovsky, who has been skating. He's listed as day-to-day, but he might be able to go this afternoon. Riker Evans, Pierre-Edouard Bellemare look like they will likely be scratches. We'll confirm later on in the show. On defense for the Kraken, Vince Dunn with Adam Larson, Jamie Alexiak with Will Borgen, Brian Dumoulin with Justin Schultz. Does anything, before I get into starting goalies, pop out to you in regard to the Kraken lineup?
Well, Kyler Yamamoto playing on the fourth line as a centerman. That's
Where did that come from?
No kidding.
Yeah.
He's been kind of a mainstay on the right wing for his entire tenure in the NHL, and I think even dating back to when he was with Spokane, he was always a right winger. So this one's a little bit interesting.
Yep.
Curious to see how he's going to transition, and, we kind of go back into that same conversation about getting bigger. Well, now you've added Yamamoto down the middle, and Gord, he's not big.
No, he's
Wenberg,
not. But he's feisty, and
he is
thick.
feisty. But
he's thick, too.
Yes, 100%. But he's not a big guy that's
No.
going to wear on guy. Like, you got to chase McDavid around. He's not a big guy that's going to be all over him.
He's a
pest.
I was just going to say pest.
He's a pest.
Yeah.
Wenberg's not massive.
No, and he's a smooth, skilled player,
Yep.
Wenberg.
And then Beniers is kind of the same.
Yeah, I like Beniers.
He's a
really
good
think
player.
he's going to be
He's
a
a good
superstar
player.
in the league. If you're wondering how Yamamoto's doing on the faceoff dot, 38.3%.
Yeah, so then that's kind of the point is that, well, you slid this guy into center who's not a natural centerman.
Right.
He's on the smaller side when you probably
much
need
so.
to get a little bit bigger at center. And he's not good on the draws. So to me, it's like, are you saying that this is the only place for you, Kyler?
Well, yeah, maybe. Bellemar's a
Yeah.
center, if I remember correctly.
Bellemare is a center.
Yeah, but I think he's 38. Bellsy, he's our age, and I think that he's now kind of just winding
Starting
it
to go
down.
downhill.
Yeah, he's winding it down in his career. So, all right, if there are any changes, like I said, we'll bring it up when the teams hit the ice for warm-up. Let's get into starting goalies, and then Bellsy will bring us game changers. For the Edmonton Oilers, 25-year-old Stuart Skinner, 27-13-2, with a .268 goals against average, .904 save percentage, 2 shutouts in 43 games this season. Skinner versus the Kraken, very good. 6-2 record, .303 goals against average, .898 save percentage in 8 games versus Seattle over the course of his career. For Seattle, it's not confirmed, but we're anticipating 32-year-old Philip Grubauer, 9-9-1 on the year, .283 goals against average, .899 save percentage, 1 shutout in 22 games this year. Grubauer versus Edmonton lifetime, a 3-3 record, .497 goals against average, .817 save percentage in 7 games versus the Oilers over the course of his career. He's gotten shelled by them a couple of times as a member of the Kraken. Joey Decord hasn't been as good lately as he was earlier in the year, where he was playing lights out for the Kraken. They went on a nice run with him. But Grubauer's won his last 4 starts.
He's their de facto number one.
He's supposed to be the number one. So I think they go to Grubauer because he is kind of the hot hand right now, but his numbers versus Edmonton, not particularly good. Now, I want to ask you this. Skinner instead of Pickard today, would you have saved Skinner for the Penguins or no?
I think I would have, but at the same time, you've got your games in hand still. And this is an important game because you want to try to get home ice. And so can you get above Vegas with this game? So it's a meaningful game.
Yes.
So you go to Skinner. Hopefully you go back to him again tomorrow and then have Pickard play, another game down the road. But
you would go back to Skinner tomorrow?
I think you have to.
Really?
I think you have to. I think this is an important stretch of games for the Oilers.
Okay.
And I'm not going to take anything away from Pickard because I think he's actually done a very good job of coming in and giving solid minutes to the Oilers. But at the same time, this is an important stretch.
It is.
And so I think you give those games to Skinner because, let's be honest, this is kind of the workload in the playoffs. What can you do? Can you handle it? It's a test. So
that's something that people have been worried about, is playing Skinner too much.
Yeah, but I think he realized last year what it would take to become a true number one. And so maybe his work ethic in the summertime, his workout regime changed so that he could be able to handle the rigors of the season. So you can't count that out. So I mean, what does a normal starting goaltender get in the season? Is it 60 games? It's 60 games.
He's well on his way to 65.
So that's kind of where they're at, and he probably knew coming into the season, yeah, you're going to get 60 games. Well, yeah, let's be honest. He probably thought 50 because Campbell would have been here.
In theory, Campbell.
But then he probably prepared for 60.
Interesting.
So,
all right, fair enough. 780-218-9999. You can text us, or if you're watching on the EST YouTube channel, get at us in the nasty chat. It is the Oil Stream pregame show. Oilers and Kraken coming up just over an hour and 10 minutes, an hour and 12 minutes away from puck drop. Tom Gazzola, Shawn Belle, YouTube Trev with you as we roll along. Time now to get to Game Changers with Bellsy. Brought to you by Damon Bunting RE/MAX Elite. Damon Bunting, consistent top-producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among RE/MAX realtors. He and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. Community-driven, he understands what it takes to make a difference in our city. Check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. Number one today, Bellsy, for this game, Road Warriors.
100%. Before I get into that quickly, there's just a couple people on the nasty chat saying that Noblock has already confirmed that Pickard would be starting goaltender tomorrow. So perfect. Cleared up.
But you were just saying you would go.
Yeah, that's what I would go with. Yeah. But regardless, yes, Road Warriors. So since the start of the season, and they had their bit of their funk that they were in, since that has changed and they got into the groove and they've had Noblock in, the Oilers have been fantastic on the road.
Yes.
They consistently pile up wins. And the reason I bring this up is because you want to see the Oilers continue to be good on the road. Because when you get into playoffs, you got to steal at least one game, right? And somebody else's building. That's always what they say. Steal a game in someone's building, and that's when you usually take the series.
Right.
So I want to see them continue to be really good on the road. I want to see them be quick. I want to see them be fast. I want to see them play their game. And like we already talked about, don't come in sleepy. Because this is a team that's desperate right now, and you can't afford to give a team that's desperate an inch. So get out there, be solid on the road, and lock down this win.
Edmonton had that nice long road winning streak. Struggled a little bit lately. We know the loss in Vegas. They lost in St. Louis. The LA loss too.
Yep.
But they pulled off a couple of wins recently, back on the road, getting into that habit of being road warriors.
Yes.
All right. Bellsy, number 2 on Game Changers today, specialty teams.
Specialty teams, the power play is one thing. Obviously, they're starting to come around. I think they're at 25.7% right now, and the trajectory for them is on the rise. I'm not worried about the power play. I've never been worried about the power play all season, despite the fact that they are not doing what they did last year.
Right.
The PK is the biggest one. Once again, we talk about the playoffs, and everything that I want to talk about is gearing up for the playoffs, because that's obviously what they're looking for. The PK needs to be in a good spot. And if they're consistently giving up 1 or 2 goals every single game,
Royal Road always comes to mind.
100%. And that could be the difference in winning and losing games.
And
get in the playoffs, 5-on-5, everything's airtight. Obviously, little mistakes here and there are going to be the difference. But at the same time, you can't allow your specialty teams to lose games for you. So how do we fix it? There was a stretch, obviously, earlier in the year where they were lights out on the PK.
Yes.
But now it's starting to slip. So and it's not that it's been so bad that they can't overcome it. But in the last, let's call it 6 games.
Yep.
Go back to Arizona.
Okay.
1 for 2.
Yep. Looking at that.
50%. Boston, 1 for 2. Mini, they had their best game. They didn't give up 1. Calgary, 1 for 4. St. Louis, 1 for 3. And LA, 0 for 2. Yep. Those are just goals right there that you don't want to give up, especially if they're the same goal every single time. And all these teams are looking through the seams, and the Oilers give up seam passes like they're handing out Skittles. So
lately. I love Skittles.
Lately, Skittles are delicious.
They're so good.
But let's see if we can't shore up that, those seam passes, try to find a way to stop those, prevent those. Do we have to overplay certain guys? Do we have to adjust our coverage ever so slightly? Because that's usually the margin, in terms of giving up a goal or not giving up a goal.
So they'll try to, stop the leak
Yep.
on the PK. We'll see if they'll do that. That's definitely a big part of it, taking away that seam pass through the middle. Belzy has been harping that to me in the last couple of seasons, and it's all I think of. I'm like, well, did the seam pass get through? Yeah. Oh, that's what they scored. Okay. Sometimes there has been some busted coverage in front too lately, but usually it's that seam pass that you allude to. All right, it is Game Changers, brought to you by Damon Bunting, Remax Elite. Tom Gazzola, Shawn Belle with you. Belzy, number 1 was Road Warriors. Number 2 was Specialty Teams. Number 3, and this leaks into specialty teams, but it's airtight defense.
Since they came back from the All-Star break, they've been giving up goals more than they had during any of the stretches where they were winning games.
Right.
Previous to, obviously, we don't like talking about
2-9-1
start. And we talk about it right there.
Yep.
So they just need to find a way to get back to that airtight defensive game. Mm-hmm. Giving up chances, there's a lot of Royal Road chances going back and forth. Those are the ones that we need to get rid of. The leaving guys in behind, try to shore that up. Because once again, we talk about the playoffs and we talk about how many mistakes you have to make to lose a game. Mm-hmm. You look back at the Vegas series, and it wasn't that they came out and they made egregious mistake after egregious mistake. It's one coverage mistake, and then boom, it's in the back of your net, right, and you lose that game. So now you try to take those lessons and you look at them and you say, okay, well, how can we shore up our defense to the point where we don't give up anything for free? You don't want to be the team that has to work so hard to get their goals, and then all of a sudden, because you have a lazy back check or you forget that there's a guy wide open behind you,
which has happened lately.
Which is happening, you don't want to give those up. Those are easy goals that are backbreakers for teams, because it's like you come back to the bench, you're like, man, like I'm working so hard for these goals, but then we're giving up these gross goals here, and it's like, man, like what else do we need to do?
Draining. Basically.
It's draining. So I want to see them get back to that airtight game. You want to see that they're not giving up anything for free, and just make sure that teams have to earn goals. That's what you want to see.
I respect that. All right. Great job on Game Changers. As always, brought to you by Damon Bunting, Remax Elite. We do have Benton coming up, and Belzy, you have hockey today as well.
Yep.
So we'll see how much longer we can keep Belzy around, but great job so far. Great job on Hello Hockey. We're going to go to the Oilers locker room and hear from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and then when we come back, Mike Benton from the Kraken Audio Network. Here is the Nuge.
I know he's been talked about a lot this season, but I think he deserves it. What does it mean to you to see Zach Hyman get to 40 goals and hit that milestone?
I mean, yeah, it's incredible, especially at this point of the year. We know how hard he works, and he's a dog on a bone in front of that net, and I mean, he has to be the best net front player in the league. I mean, obviously, it's pretty incredible. He drives our offense so much, and he creates so much just because he's so strong on the puck, and can just find ways to score and in any way around the net. It's not always just whacking it in. It's making nice moves. It's putting rebounds in. So pretty incredible, and I know that he's going to keep going here, and he's not obviously not satisfied yet.
Can you take us through your play where you tracked down Thomas in the third period?
I mean, I just kind of saw Bushi and Connor come together there a little bit, which is a little dangerous, and Bushi's kind of sliding, so I just saw Thomas pick it up, and I think he kind of thought he was alone there for the whole way, and slowed down just enough so I can just kind of pick his pocket there.
For you, Ryan, could you describe, first overall pick, people always think offense, but would you maybe describe just your own evolution in understanding and having lots of pride in defense, and just how that kind of happened for you through the course of your career?
Well, I think I came in and definitely was more of an offensive guy in junior and growing up, like most guys high picks. So I think when I came in, I understood that I needed to definitely try to hone in my defensive game and learn a lot about the defensive side of the game. So it's not just something that you can turn on and just magically be good at it. It takes a lot of work and a lot of video and a lot of watching other players around the league, the best in the game. And I was fortunate I got to play against some of those guys like Datsuk, Zetterberg, and Tays, Gazzola, some guys that are elite on both sides of the puck. So definitely tried to emulate parts of my game after those guys. And it's definitely still a work in progress, I think. I still want to improve both sides of the puck, but it's definitely something that I take a lot of pride in.
A little bit of an off-speed question here. How do you describe the environment in that dressing room? Because whether you guys are playing the best hockey all season with that 16-game win streak, or you guys are kind of trying to find your game and get back in the win column more consistently, how do you describe that environment?
I think we've done a good job, a better job the last 30, 40 games of staying even keel no matter what we're going through. And you know that there's ups and downs. Obviously, it was mostly down at the start of the year. Then you go on that streak, and it doesn't feel like you can lose a game. And that's not neither side of those are kind of the way that seasons go. There's always ups and downs, kind of week to week, and you have to be able to stick in it. And we've done a good job, better job of just kind of staying within ourselves, being even keel, and trusting that if we play our best night in, night out, we can win any game.
We've seen some huge Oilers fan contingencies on away games lately, Arizona, LA. Are you expecting that in Seattle, and what role, if any, does that play when you guys are on the road?
I mean, we love it for sure. We love hearing the Oilers chants and seeing the jerseys in the crowd. And I know that we usually have a pretty good show in Seattle. They have a good, strong fan base too. I mean, they're excited about their team, and it's a really good atmosphere in there, cool building. So yeah, it's always exciting when you can put one in and hear those cheers from your fans.
Was that one of the loudest Nuges you heard in the building after that back check?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the beauty of playing in Edmonton is the fans appreciate more than just scoring goals and making nice offensive plays. They understand both sides of the game, and it's a big reason why it's a lot of fun to play here.
Growing up. Oh, go ahead.
After your games have been tough to get started, and we've had some slower starts. Have you guys talked about anything that you might be doing to try to get the jump out early?
Well, I think it's our mindset for any game really, but it's keeping it simple early and just kind of building our forecheck and forcing ourselves to get skating by sometimes you got to give the puck up to go get it back, and when we're playing our best, that's kind of our mindset and how we kind of build games throughout the full 60. And tomorrow it's important. We're traveling today, and then obviously early start tomorrow, so we want to get our legs going right away. And you're not going to be able to pick your way through the neutral zone all the time. It's just putting pucks deep and kind of building the game from that.
All right, time to go to Seattle now with our good friend Mike Benton from the Kraken Radio Network, or the Kraken Audio Network, I should say. Mike, give us the scoop on this Kraken team. I know they've won 3 of their last 4, but they're looking to hang on and stay in the playoff mix. What has happened with this team lately?
Yeah, right now they're just basically playing every game like it is a Game 7, Tom. And to kind of borrow the baseball analogy, I've used this before. It's like they're going into every game like it's a 2-strike count, and they're fouling off pitch by pitch by pitch. I mean, they can ill afford to lose any more games at this point because they're 7 points right back now the cut line, which guarantees they won't be in a playoff spot by trade deadline time. So every win is of urgent matter. They know it. They sense it. They have said it. They're already playing in playoff games at this point, and yet they still find ways to eke out wins over Boston, who they swept this last month, over Pittsburgh 2 nights ago, which was very, very impressive. And they're doing it from goaltending and finding ways to be as defensively sound. A stark contrast versus last year when they were outscoring their problems, and they had basically the top-ranked team with scoring 5-on-5 goals all across the league. So it's a different feel right now, but they understand the urgency of this situation where they can ill afford to lose any more games here to stay in the thick of this race.
Mike, you mentioned the goaltending. Joey Decord's been good. He had some great moments, but Phil Grubauer has been playing much better of late. I think he's won his last 4 starts. What else is clicking for this team when it is beating the better teams in the NHL? They have wins against the Canucks recently. Like you mentioned, they sweep the Bruins. They did beat the Pens their last time out. So what clicks for this team when it is playing its best?
Well, I noticed 2 things. I think, number one, they're able to get sound defensive structure, and they're really not chasing the play and chasing the puck all over the ice. And I go back to the way that Vince Dunn and Adam Larson defended Sidney Crosby. Larson had one of the best defensive games I've seen all season. He played over 25 minutes, had 8 block shots, had a couple of hits, and had a couple of great plays to tie up 6, Crosby, Ricard, Raquel, or disrupt passes right across the middle. And they'll have to have a similar effort here today against, the best player on the entire planet, plus Leon Draisaitl and Evander Kane. And I noticed that when they're able to stay within themselves emotionally and stay at 5-on-5, they're able to, again, get into a rhythm, go through 4 lines, and use the element of pace to wear other teams down. And then after that, find a way to strike with opportunity. And that's what's working for them in the most recent week or so here.
Kyler Yamamoto at center. Are we going to be seeing that this afternoon? And what other lineup tweaks might we get?
Yeah, I think no changes as compared to the Pittsburgh game. The question loomed if Andre Burakovsky could go, and he was in practice the other day, but there's still no word that if he's available yet. So he's still very much on day-to-day status, which meant Ty Cartier was in his spot in the second line with Jaden Schwartz and Alex Lundberg. Yamamoto's been thrusted into a pretty unique spot. He's, of course, a natural winger. He's found consistency and success in this league last few years in that spot. But it's a different game playing 200 feet and taking faceoffs yet. He was pretty good in the faceoff circle last couple of games, so it's about usage and putting him in the right spot. He'll be on the 4th line, it looks like, here with Brandon Tanev and Tomas Tatar. So a bit of a unique look here with 3 left shot forwards all in the same line, but the more and more that they can be put in the correct spots, not often, but in the correct spots, be a better off that they're going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned pace as being some of the things that are one of the things that has got this Seattle Kraken team moving forward, along with the defensive play. You get a team like the Edmonton Oilers that also play with quite a bit of pace, but they also like to slow it down. Is this the recipe for the Kraken to find that victory over the Oilers, and just saying that we're going to try to keep that pace extremely high? We're also going to lock down on the defensive end. Is this something that you could foresee being the game plan moving forward, not just against this Oilers team, but against other teams throughout the rest of the season?
Yeah, I certainly think so. When you talk about a lockdown approach, and I should go back and correct myself because I got 18 things in my brain right now. Yamamoto being a right shot forward, and Tatar and Tanev left shot forwards as well. So, but they're very much a part of this recipe with, I think, how they have to play. They don't like to get into a skating game here with Edmonton. The more low event that they can keep this with McDavid, with Draisaitl, with Kane, and the more and more they can keep this definitely in 5-on-5 and keep them out of the box, or keep themselves out of the box, be a better off that they are going to be for sure.
Hey, really quickly, Mike, because I know you're tight for time, but are the nerves starting to creep in around Seattle, and are people worried that the team will not make the postseason? What's your sense of the vibe?
Well, I think there's a realization of what the situation is right now, and it's dire. But when they made the playoffs last year, they were still very much well ahead of their window and ahead of their time. And I think ultimately what you're looking at is that you're looking to see what the next step is here with this team. They're going to make the playoffs, or we're going to be looking at some pretty serious changes on this roster, because $22 million are going to come off the books later on this summer. And they have Shane Wright, who's absolutely cooking right now in Coachella Valley in the American Hockey League. So if there are playoffs, they've done well ahead of their window once again. If there are not, well, they were in this fight like many hoped they would be, and now you're looking ahead here to more and more pieces that could be coming in as part of this build here for the long-term future, and that's something that really excites this fan base.
Benton, always a pleasure. Thank you for doing this afternoon. Be well, my friend.
Anytime. Thanks, fellas.
There you go. There's Mike Benton from the Kraken Audio Network. Good stuff there. Belsey, time now to go inside the Oilers locker room, and let's hear from head coach Chris Noblock.
Again, do you know which goalie's going which game yet? Stu's going to play tomorrow.
When you go into, what makes you decide which guy's first or last? Because it's varied from back to back.
I think there's a lot of things, how well they're playing, the opposition, and then also a lot of things we think about is the practice time and how we can work guys in and have their touches, and we're traveling, and all those kind of variables.
So most people would probably think Stu, Sunday, Crosby, but that's not necessarily the case. Is there much, I know there's a lot of thought given to it, but just what's sort of the mindset of making that kind of decision?
Just managing the workload of a couple things. One is playing the divisional game, Seattle. Obviously, the importance on that a little bit more, and then the other one is just weigh the timing that we can get an extra skate at practice, and having Stu managing his workload and not being on the ice one extra time, it makes it a little easier that Pix plays the second one.
How do you manage this week from an emotional perspective for your team? Everybody knows what it is, the trade deadline week, and you might be bringing in some guys might be moving out. How do you approach as a coach to ensure the guys aren't too uneasy?
This is new for me, so I can't say that I know a plan or how to handle it perfectly. Obviously, a lot of talks with the players and trying to ease their anxiety and frustration. But we're very happy with our team, and we hope to be getting stronger. But I don't know. We've got a lot of good hockey players, and we don't want to see anyone go. But obviously, this is a trade deadline, and obviously things do happen. But it's out of their control. It's out of my control.
Consecutive games again, 2 goals or less. Outside of the first 5 minutes against St. Louis, probably pretty happy with your overall team. Do you feel you're back to where you were collectively, defensively as a group?
Yeah, I think we're tightening up things, looking a little bit better, and not giving up those goals. A lot has to do with the penalty kill being so good, and then also the play of Stuart Skinner. We could easily give up more than 2 goals the last 2 games, but he has been really, really good.
Into Marshall home stretch, are you starting to think about playoffs, or are you guys still trying to take it game by game?
I think everyone's been thinking about playoffs probably the first day of the season, of wondering what's going to happen. And I think if we're looking too far down the road, it's unhealthy, it's distracting. And, we want to, as we get closer, you're thinking about it more. But we want to get ready for the playoffs. So, yeah, we are thinking about it, but we need to get better. And we need to, today we worked on our breakouts and goal scoring previously. And, there's always an area that we're addressing. And but as for the playoffs, where we are, who we're going to play, and when they start, not at all.
The last, I think, 4 games, the PK's been a little better. I know St. Louis scored on you guys early, but huge kills against Los Angeles. Do you feel you've gained some momentum in games off penalty kills in the last week or so?
Absolutely. The one game where we had a kill, and it was pretty much the turning point of the game, where we scored shortly after that huge kill. I think we were down 5-on-3 for 30 seconds or something, and that was a complete momentum changer. Stu made some really big saves on that kill, and your best penalty killer is usually your goalie. But I just see our forwards and defensemen who are part of that penalty kill playing with their instincts, attacking more, and their sticks are on that puck rather than being up in the air, just breaking up more plays. And then the clears have been pretty solid.
All right, there was head coach Chris Noblock speaking to the media following practice yesterday before the team hit the road to Seattle to take on the Kraken this afternoon. Tom Gazzola with you. Big thank you to Shawn Belle for sticking around for the pregame show as we roll on here on EST and YouTube. Trev in tow as well. Trev has been a busy boy. You've been a busy boy. You want to come say hi?
Yeah, I'm working on it here. 1 second. It's been a very busy morning there, Tommy.
Excellent this morning.
I mean, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been sweet. It's okay, wait. I'll be on camera in 10 seconds. Yeah, read some text and I'll be on in 10 seconds.
Hey, Norman at Combine checking in says, boys, hello. 6-4 win today. Book it, Norm. All in caps. Good morning, Norm. Or good afternoon. Jeez. Even I'm losing track of the time. This one is from Big U. Says, this is the first time in a long time that I actually have confidence in our goalie tandem. Keep them both going and both hot, and this team will be fine. Also, the PK went 40 for 41. Need to get back to that or closer to it. Cannot get back to 88 to 93%. Can't be down 1-0 every game as soon as the Oilers get a penalty. And Big Uke alluding to what Belzy was saying, the specialty teams, the PK needs to be better. No giving up seam passes, or as Belzy likes to call it, Royal Road. And the coverage needs to be a little sharper. We've seen them mess up the execution of that a bit since coming out of the break. This text comes in. It says, would players like Jordan Greenway and Connor Clifton be options for the Oilers to add? And would a Campbell trade to a team like Jersey work if they retain salary, sent a late pick to the Devils for someone like Kincaid? I'll talk about the Campbell thing. The goal of moving on from Campbell is to completely shed his salary. No retention. They don't want dead cap space. That's been a problem for, 6 or 7 years now. They had Benoit Pouliot on dead cap space. They had Milan Lucic. They had Andre Sekera, Eric Gryba, and now they have James Neal when it comes to dead cap space. So I know that the intention is to rid themselves of dead cap space, so I don't think that they would retain anything on Campbell, and especially to get someone like Kincaid. So I think they're more content with Calvin Pickard, and I don't think they would think of Kincaid as a upgrade. I think that's fair. Coach Mike says Pittsburgh will be playing their 3rd and 4 tomorrow. Play Skinner in the divisional game. Play Pickard against the presumably tired Pittsburgh team. Thanks for the text, Coach Mike. Good to hear from you. Joel says Brown needs to be traded to the moon. Good afternoon, Joel. That one coming in all caps. Although it feels like Joel's been yelling at us for the last couple of weeks in the text line.
I think she's channeling her Cass.
Yes.
Because that's what Cass does. And I think they got a little thing. Yeah, he does all caps.
He needs to be seen and heard.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Well played. Hello, Joel. Good to hear from you. I was talking to Joel. I went into the Discord, by the way, a couple days ago, and I don't mind it. It's all right. I've never experienced Discord before, and it's kind of cool to see. And I'll get in there some more, but I need to get used to it. Have you
it's like a continuous, ongoing nasty chat. I was telling LT about it, and he's like, "Oh, what is a Discord?" He's like, "I don't know what a Discord is."
I didn't either.
Yeah. So I was getting LT on there. I don't think he's quite. I was showing him a little bit yesterday before Whale and the Wolf, and he's like, "Oh, this is interesting."
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty sweet. I like Discord a lot. I mean, it's definitely.
You use it?
Yeah, I use it. Keep in touch. A lot of my buddies back home. It's like an ongoing. Yeah. What am I doing here? There we are. Wait.
Well, we're having a friendly chat.
Oh, wait, I forgot to change my name. Darn it. Okay, well, I'll work on that. But yeah, so Discord's pretty sweet, Tommy. I don't mind it at all, and it's pretty cool.
Thanks,
cool.
Jess.
Yeah, of course. I'm working on that.
780-218-9999 as we get you set for the Oilers and the Kraken this afternoon. We know Stuart Skinner will start tonight. Calvin Pickard tomorrow. Let's see what's going on in the nasty chat. What's going on, you nasties? How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Let's see. Nuge fights Ebbs. Book it, says Zedmo. Never, ever. They would not. That wouldn't happen.
I think they're still close, hey? Yeah, you have to think. That's pretty cool. Looking back, I think it was either Jordan Eberle's wedding that he had or Taylor Hall's. They posted a photo, and all three of them, I'm like, that's nice. Yeah, it's nice seeing that still.
Nerd and Punk says, Nuge is awesome. Freaking love this guy. That we heard from Nugent Hopkins earlier. And Spency 5 cents, he says, I hear Seattle is an awesome place for a game. Yeah, that's one of the few rinks I haven't been to. They have the 2 scoreboards system. It's like they're in the offensive zones, I guess.
Yeah.
They call them the Twins.
Nice. I like
they're
that.
They're big and they're beautiful.
Yeah, they're pretty cool, man. Like looking at it, I think it's I think there's only one other team. It might be Philadelphia that's kind of doing that new kind of scoreboard.
Philly replaced their scoreboard.
Or they got something.
Their scoreboard has moving pieces to it, and it has what they're doing with scoreboards is incredible right now. That's what I will say. And obviously very different in Seattle. The way they created that arena, they use captured rainwater to make the ice, right? Like,
I love that. That's a cool touch.
part of being Climate Pledge Arena. So it's pretty neat. Steve says you should just call yourself Stuart Skinner.
I've heard that a lot. Last night, that's a common thing people are saying. Has anyone ever told you look like Stuart Skinner? And it's got to the point where I'm just like, yep. It's a common thing every day almost.
Jen says, wow, Matt, you look different. When you were, you had.
When I was Matt, I look a little different than Matt.
Coyote Steve says, hello, YouTube Trev, a.k.a. Lil Skins. And then Mr. Bleach says, YouTube Trev is a dead ringer for the long driver from the old commercials, the log driver.
And it goes furling down and down the white waters.
That was a
beautiful
Canadian
song.
staple.
It's stuck in my head. It hasn't left.
Great song. All right. Nash Osborne says, big win today. Eberle sneaks back into Nuge's luggage just in time for the playoffs. I have time for that. I don't know how realistic it is. I don't know if he's the right guy. Would he be an upgrade in the top six? Could he be the second line right winger, even first line right? Yes, obviously. But Hyman's having a great year. He would be in the top six. But I think there are others that might be a better option in terms of bigger, more grit, not taking anything away ever from Jordan Eberle, who can be a playoff performer and has been in his time in the NHL since the Oilers traded him. All right, let's go to Vinnie Desharnais speaking to the media following yesterday's practice before the team flew. What? Give me a look.
Yeah. I was like, yep, that's absolutely what we're doing.
Right, well, let's go to
just
Vinnie
making a face.
Desharnais. Here we go.
Preseason about working on your puck skills.
Yep.
When you look back now and kind of a year ago where you were at handling the puck in the NHL, how far do you think you've come?
I think a big difference. I'm getting more confident with it. I'm making more plays. I think that by practicing so much on it, you get more and more confident. I think there's still a lot of work to do. I think there's still some turnovers I'm not really happy with, but I feel that when you make more plays, I think the turnovers are kind of part of it. But I'm really happy that I've grown a lot with it, but there's still quite a bit of work to be done.
Do you feel like I feel like sometimes for younger players when they come up, like they want to get the puck, but when they get it, they want to get it off their stick fast enough? Or are you more like the timing of the play now? And
I remember the first, I would say all season last season when I didn't really want it, especially in the ozone. I was like, please don't pass it to me. I'm just here, but don't. But now I want it, and I think that Cooley and I have built a pretty good chemistry, and we're starting to make more and more plays, create more and more chances, which is it's definitely a lot more fun than last year, where I would just get it and just put it down low.
It seems like when you get the puck at the point, are you looking for it seems like your head up is looking for a stick, for a tip?
Yeah, I think it's part of the confidence. I'm trying to create more plays and just trying to put it down low and not make a bad play. And I think I've been moving my feet a lot more at the blue line, which helps me quite a bit. But I mean, I like to call it a work in progress. So I'll still work on it every day.
On the heels of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins making that beautiful back check last game, I ask you, what does Ryan Nugent-Hopkins mean to this team?
He's awesome. Obviously on the ice, he does so many. He's got so many small details to his game that most people won't see. Important face-offs against LA. He's won big face-offs, 6-on-5 at the end there. And then those back checks, and he's got such a good stick. But also behind these two doors, he's just always smiling. Shows up. He's always ready to have fun, to work, and he's always smiling, whether he's having a bad day or not. He's got the same positive mindset. I've learned to really appreciate him more and more every day.
It's been just over a year here that you've been in Edmonton. So I ask you the same question I asked Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. How do you describe the environment in that dressing room, Vinny, when this team is playing, very well at a 16-game win streak, or trying to find its way back in the win column more consistently. What are some of the tendencies and characteristics you've noticed in this?
I think our character is great, and our character towards each other is great. I think that we're getting more and more accountable without being ruthless, if that makes any sense. Sometimes I feel like at the start of the season we would get on top of each other a little too much instead of kind of focusing on our own jobs. And I think that we're doing that, but we're able to tell our teammate to kind of pick it up and make that pass a little bit better, and without yelling or without kind of getting on top of each other, which is great, and I think that builds trust, that builds chemistry, and I think the last 2 games we've kind of seen it. Obviously the weekend, two losses that they were not great for us, but it happens. It's in the past, and LA, we came out, we had a great game, and then boom, we were trying to build, and I think St. Louis, we stuck with it. And hopefully we can just build on top of it.
For someone who's in the early stages of their NHL career, what does that environment mean to you personally?
It's a lot of fun. It's definitely a lot of fun, and I think that I've been able to help with, even though I'm early in my NHL career. I think I've been through quite a bit, and experience is experience no matter what league you're in. I think it counts, and I think I've been able to help a little bit to bring that positive mindset back, and to bring that character every night.
There you go, Vinnie Desharnais. Great interview. Well spoken. He's a character, honestly. Like, he's fun to talk to in the locker room. You could talk to him about anything. Probably the most fun, enjoyable conversation. They're always good, but him and I, coming out of the summer during training camp, had a long talk about F1. Because he went to the F1 race in Montreal, and he's like, man, it was cool, the engineering, the sound, the speed. And then I was like, and the people that show up for this thing. He goes, dude, you should have seen the cars that were driving around and all these European, like, big wig high rollers. And like, that people watching would have been amazing. He's like, it's unbelievable. So really good dude. And that's a guy I think you can root for, because you can see the work he's putting in at practice, and then it's starting to take on the ice in games. He doesn't shy away from the rough stuff. He's been very good on the PK. You heard him talking about working on his puck touches and his hands in the off season, and trying to better himself. And he's not a spring chicken. He's in his 26, 27 years old now. So a good story, and a guy that took a lot of time to get to where he's at, and I think people are starting to appreciate him more. Now, I'd like to see more offense from Vinnie Desharnais, but give it some time, Trev.
He is actually getting more chances as of late, like offensively, and he talked about that. He talked about that just in the interview. He's not shying away when he first started, when he came, got the call up to the Oilers last year. He was like, I was shying away. I didn't really want the puck. As soon as it was on my stick, I was like, give it away kind of thing. But he's like, no, like I'm okay with getting the puck now, and he's doing a lot more with it. And yeah, like it is a good story. You like those stories for sure. He's won a lot of people over. I'm still on the fence with him. He hasn't quite won me over yet, but that might change. It honestly might change. I don't know. I've always thought his skating wasn't quite there, and that's why it wasn't.
That's
and
fair.
And it is getting better, and he's not putting himself in positions where, and like, I think that's the big thing, he's not getting burnt nearly as much.
Right. Well, there were, especially last year, playoffs were rough, that Vegas series. Actually, there was a couple games against LA where it was tough, but it seems like as this year has progressed, you're not seeing him trying to catch up as much, and maybe he's using his range better, keeping that gap better, and he's not finding himself in precarious situations as much as he was before.
Yeah, and as far as holding the line, he's not pinching nearly as much. So it's still a work in progress, and I think he'd be the first to say that. It's baby steps, right? But I think there are some signs that you're starting to see, and there's a reason why he has won a lot of fans over, and that's fair.
Hard guy to like. I'm kidding. That was totally facetious. He's very friendly and a really good guy. Desharnais, a goal and 8 assists +4, 41 PIMs in 55 games this season, and we'll see him tonight on the Oilers blue line as they get set for the Seattle Kraken. It is confirmed Philip Grubauer will start for the Kraken. Stuart Skinner will go for the Edmonton Oilers. Text us, 780-218-9999, or if you're watching, get at us on the Nasty Chat. I closed it for some reason. What am I doing here? Let's get back to that. Silly me. Nasty Chat, I'm sorry. I left you hanging. I was there, and then I got out of there, and I'm going back. Tom Gazzola, YouTube, Trev with you. Big thank you to Shawn Belle for stopping by, actually sticking around after Hello Hockey, and he gave us Game Changers today. Cass is away, taking care of some family stuff, and so we roll on now. Joaquin Gage is in studio with Corey, Nasty member Corey, and Corey, big thank you to Corey B for bringing in some Buddy Burgers. That was super nice. Bringing lunch.
I'm smelling it right now. That smells amazing.
Yeah. He was at the Whale and the Wolf show with you. By the way, how was that?
It was really cool. So, coming from a guy, like, honestly, that was the first concert I've been to in over 10 years.
Wow.
And, not a lot of concerts back home, Tommy. So, it was easily the coolest one I've ever been to. It's cool knowing the guys.
From the band, yeah.
Yeah, it was cool seeing LT's reaction. And, it's...
You did an impersonation of him. So, if you don't know, Whale and the Wolf, our EST house band, Lucas, the bass player for Whale and the Wolf, is Eric's brother. And then Raimai, the lead singer. I went to college with Raimai. He worked at the Bear. He was on the morning show. And I went to college with his wife. That's how they met. Haley, she's lovely. And then through those two, we've met the rest of the band. They're phenomenal. It's great to see them have success. They're local, and you can hear their music on the radio. They just released an album in the fall called Envy, and now you've gotten to know them. So that's the background on Will and the Wolf. They've been opening for Royal Tusk. They were in Calgary 2 nights ago. They played here yesterday. Give us the scoop on yesterday. And LTE with his brother, because you asked LTE.
Yeah. Well, LT, he's a pretty humble guy. But, just before we had a few beers at LT's place before the concert, and just telling him, like, man, like, it's got to be pretty cool, right? Like, your brother's up there. He's just crushing it. He's in a really sick band. He's like, it's okay. It's not bad. But, we go to the concert, and I'm like, where the heck is LT? He's always running off, and I just see him in the middle of the concert just headbanging, and he's like, that's my brother.
Yes.
And so it's pretty cool to see that. And, he's a proud guy. But it's great music. It really is. Like, I showed my stepdad, he's pretty picky. Good old Frank. He likes his music, but he likes old music. He doesn't really like new stuff. Yep. I showed, Whale and the Wolf to him. He's like, wow, this is, like, super insane. Like, it's so good. All my buddies are listening to it back home. And, like, back home, when people say, oh, yeah, like, I'm in a band, I'm like, oh, gosh. Like, I've heard that before. So when LT, like, when he told me, I was like, yeah, my brother's got a band. I'm like, oh, that's amazing. And then, I heard them, and I'm like, oh, okay, so they're legit. They're actually really legit. So it was cool. And people were, like, just so into it, and it's cool because I'm like, I know those guys. So it's pretty sweet.
We do keep them hidden in this back room inside our studios from Monday to Friday. They'll have to return.
Be quiet, boys.
7 o'clock. Yeah. Joel says LTE is a nerd. He's the best nerd. And then Zedmo says he needs some lunch. And Eric says Royal Tusk is so good. So was 10-Second Epic, if anyone remembers. Yeah, 10-Second Epic, Edmonton band. This is like 15 years ago plus. I think they got some play down in the U.S. as well. And they had a couple of big songs up here. And then another text, I wanted to read it, from Induced Comics says, he was so funny on the Bear morning show in regard to Raimai. And now he's just a rocker and a good family man and my friend.
And it's kind of like I had to get LTs. Like, I'm like, what's like, how do you guys all know each other? It's just kind of crazy how you all went to school with each other, and and then LT grew up with Raimai, and then it just happens to be his brother's best friend. Yep. Comes here, you guys all know each other, you work, and it's weird
with everybody.
Yeah,
there,
so I was like, when he was telling me the story, I'm like, that's a really cool story.
It is cool, and I love so like LTE being proud of his brother up on stage, touring the country, opening for Royal Tusk. I know, like, he's really proud of when they did the album release show here at Starlight Room in September. I was standing there watching, and I was looking at Raimai. I'm like, there's that little annoying kid that kept bugging me my first day of college. Like, hey man, hey, what about this? Hey, what about that? And then I was like, this guy is going to kill me. Like, I can't stand him. A week later, I'm like, this guy's hilarious. He's brilliant. He's smart. He's talented. And I didn't know he had that musical component to him. He was a great broadcaster. He could probably be a broadcaster again if he wanted to. But nice to see him leading a band like that. So check them out, Whale and the Wolf. They're our good friends. They played last night at Union Hall. And by all accounts, Trev's included. Corey was there. Owanik was there. Glue Guy, Jay Milne was there. Mike Owanik. And who am I forgetting? LTE. Everybody said it was great. Scout, you said you saw Scout from the...
Yep. Yeah, I saw Scout. Yeah, that's about it, I think. Yeah. Pretty sweet.
Great show. All right. 780-218-9999. You could text us. Let's take a look at what's going on around the National Hockey League. 13 games today. Super busy, obviously. And the Oilers are in one of a couple of matinees. One already in the books. The Jets knock off the Hurricanes 5-3. That one was tied at 3, I believe, when we last went around the National Hockey League. So Winnipeg continues to cruise. They are crushing it this year. 5-3, they beat a good Carolina team earlier today. You got Florida and Detroit coming up shortly. And then Edmonton faces off against Seattle. Florida and Detroit actually 10 minutes in. No score there. Nashville hosts Colorado. St. Louis gets Minnesota. Buffalo hosts Vegas. We will keep our eyes on that one tonight collectively. I think we might be probably off the air with the post-game show by the time that one gets going. Ottawa's in Philadelphia. Tampa hosts Montreal. The Leafs get the Rangers. The Islanders welcome in the Bruins. Chicago and Columbus tangle tonight. Dallas with Chris Tanev welcomes in San Jose. And then Pittsburgh and Calgary at the Saddle Dome is the late game. We will see Pittsburgh here tomorrow night. And like Coach Mike or Norman Combine mentioned, Pittsburgh playing 3-4. So we'll also be watching the late game on Hockey Night tonight. And the Flames without Tanev. The Flames looking, well, we heard from Dave Pagnotta. Will they move on from Hanifin? What do they do with Markstrom? I know Conroy and Markstrom maybe not seeing things eye to eye, and Markstrom speaking out about that. Will New Jersey circle back? Will they make another offer? We shall see. If you didn't catch it on Hello Hockey, Pagnotta said that Calgary, should they pull off the deal, New Jersey wants them to take on Vitek Vanacek, but the plan is for Dustin Wolf and Dan Vladar to be the guys moving forward if Markstrom should be sent elsewhere.
And you Dustin Wolf, we've talked about him. He's just insane. So that's not a bad plan.
Right. Up-and-comer. Very excited about him. People are around Calgary. Young, early in his development, obviously, as a pro goalie. Has had a couple of looks with the Flames this season. And but he also got burned a couple of times. He's not a big guy. He's an old-school goalie, like reflex and instinct, not just a big blocker, because he's 5'10", 5'11". We don't see a lot of those goalies in the NHL anymore, and he's a lot of movement in his game. So jittery almost.
And I don't know, like it's kind of, you're right. Like you don't see that at all, really, but no. It's the fun way. I think it would be interesting to see Gager's opinion on that, but it's just such a cool way to unorthodox approach, especially nowadays.
He is
but it's super cool.
Right there. He's watching F1.
He's on the couch right now.
Yeah, he looks confused.
Yeah, dazed and confused.
He'll be sticking around for the post-game show to give us the scoop on the Oilers and the Kraken today in this afternoon matchup. Tom Gazzola, YouTube Trev with you. Let's get to some text. Jocelyn chiming in says, Carolina was up 3-0 going into the third. Can you say collapse? Jocelyn, absolutely. And Jocelyn is a Canes fan. What happened?
That is the Canes fan.
That is
correction.
The Canes fan in our fine city. Abutski says, whenever Trev refers to LT, I think he's talking about Low Tide at first, which is funny if you think about it. But have you met Low Tide?
Nope.
But you know Low Tide.
He was one of the few names I heard from back home. I'm like Low Tide. I'm like, who's Low Tide? But yeah, seems like a beauty.
Yeah, but no, LTE, Lieutenant Eric, is who Trev is referring to. This one says, "Hey Tommy, how about China White Kick-Ass Buddies Band, or his buddies band?" That's John from the Fort. I should check them out. And every time I hear about China White, I think of the shot that Jason Strudwick loves to indulge in. Good China White. Maple Jed said, "Who was the last Oilers D-man that has been this consistent with less than 100 NHL games experience? Vinnie is the $100 winning lottery ticket you find in the pocket of a jacket you haven't worn in a while." Maple Jed, that's an interesting comparison, but he's a guy that they drafted late in the 2016 draft. I remember reading about him, like, oh, this guy's a giant, and it was out of NCAA, and there wasn't a lot of expectation from him, but because of his size, people were intrigued, and then he slowly built his way up, worked on his game, was in the East Coast League, or ECHL, I should say. It doesn't stand for East Coast League anymore, and then worked his way up to an AHL deal, started to make an impact with the Condors, and then the Oilers started to take note. And at the time, Marcus Niemelainen was getting a look with Edmonton, but people were saying, hey, Tom, keep an eye on this Vinnie Desharnais guy, because his game is similar in some respects to Niemelainen. He can play physical. He's big. He's tall. He's rangy, lanky. And his hands are a bit better than Niemelainen's. Also, he's willing to drop the gloves, because we saw Niemelainen get chased around a few times, and he wouldn't fight after throwing some monster hits. And Vinnie Desharnais, it's not necessarily the case with him. He will throw down if he needs to. And he ripped out Arbor Jackey's shoulder out of its socket. And I said to Vinny after that, I'm like, dude, how was that fight? He goes, oh, man, I was just trying to hold on for dear life. I said, Vinny, you literally pulled his arm out of his socket. He goes, really? Is he out for the year? I was like, yeah. That guy's got it. Like, and Jackey came on the scene, and he was making waves like Matt Rempe.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting. Like, Tommy, like, are you satisfied, like, with Vincent Desharnais? Like, can you...
Pleasantly surprised.
If the playoffs started right now, he's your sixth man.
I would, and I stand by this. I want to see another guy come in, but I want a depth guy. That's how I would look at it. Like, being realistic, if you can get an upgrade, yes, best case scenario. I fully support that and would want that. But if you go the route of a top 6 or top 9 forward, and then you still need a D-man because you only have 6 on the roster, and I don't think Philip Broberg is the right guy to be your 7th. I still think you need a guy with veteran presence and savvy, and you can rely on. So I think if looking at it that way, they go and they get a veteran D-man for depth, I don't think necessarily that is bumping Desharnais out, especially after how you've brought him along, you've given and instilled confidence in him, and you want him to succeed, and he's working towards that. How do you, as a coaching staff and management team, build this guy up so that he's ready and better in the playoffs after going through what he did last year, playing a full season in the NHL, and just yank it away from him? That's where I come at that question from. That's my mindset.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer, Tommy.
Now, if he falters and you did pick up a guy for depth, boom, slide him in. That's it. Simple as that.
Yeah, it's a good safe option from, I think for the most part, it's a good safe option, right? You got Vincent Desharnais, but like, yeah, like, and that's the thing. Like, maybe I'm just in the minority, but there are just certain times where people just give him all the praise in the world, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm watching the same game. Like, so he hasn't quite won me over. I'm a little bit more on the fence where I definitely would like to see them go for someone.
And I'm all for it. I get it.
Yeah, that's where I come from.
Yeah. If you can improve the team, by all means, right? At a reasonable price, or one that, if you're willing to part ways with assets or players, sure. If it makes the team better, makes them closer to being more of a legit cup contender, I get that. But I'm saying, like, realistically, if you go out and you spend your big assets on getting an upgrade or a top 6 or top 9 forward, you still need a D-man. And you look at the back end and you go, well, it can be bad sometimes, but it's overall been good this season. So what's more likely? Do you get an impact D-man? You're going to try for one, sure. Or if you can't, and you swing it in, and there's a miss, you still add a depth defenseman, and you go, all right, Vinny, time for you to step up. You've been doing it. Keep it going. I think that's realistic. That, in my opinion.
I agree.
Maybe I'm an idiot. I'm sure there's some out there who think I am. I know there are. I'm just saying. Look at you go, no.
I'm not an idiot. How dare you? Don't say that, Tommy.
Anyway, I digress. Philip Grubauer goes for the Kraken. It is Stuart Skinner for the Oilers. And I'm just checking to see if Benton, who was on the show, has anything else. Dave Hackstall confirms Andrei Burakovsky is out tonight or today for the Seattle Kraken as the Oilers get set to close out the season series versus Seattle. Edmonton has been playing very well against this Kraken team since it's come into the National Hockey League, 8-2 overall. The Oilers have rattled off, what have they won? They're 4-1 all-time at Seattle. They've won 5 straight against the Kraken, and Edmonton 12-7 versus the Pacific Division this year. The Kraken are 7-6-3 versus the Pacific. If you're wondering about specialty teams, which Belsey was talking about earlier on Game Changers, Edmonton now third in the NHL when it comes to the power play. No real surprise there. 27.6%, 47 for 170 on the year so far. And then the PK, which did creep into the top 10 prior to the All-Star break / bye week, has now fallen back to the middle of the pack, 15th in the NHL at 79.5%. 6 shorties scored for the Oil. As for the Kraken, the power play, 35 for 167. That is 17.4%, 17th in the NHL. And the PK for Seattle, 19th in the league at 78.9% with 2 shorthanded tallies this year. Anything else of note, Trev, before I go into lineups one more time?
Yeah, just looking at, I talked about it last week with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I haven't really been a big fan of his game as of late. I thought he was pretty invisible, not going to lie, and he's a player I really like. So in saying that, that's, he's centering the second line right now with Kane and Janmark, and I will say in the last 3 games even, it's been his best recent stretch. He's just way more noticeable, and he has been slotted as a winger pretty well all season. But you got to remember, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins was drafted as a center, right? He was a center for the first 8 years of his career. So he is a natural center, and you see that. He's looked really good, and I would not be surprised if Holloway, I really like that second line. It was Holloway, Kane, and RNH. They've got Janmark there, who knows, that could still be the same, but I wouldn't be surprised if they ain't got nothing going. They'll probably switch that up, and I like what that line did when it had Holloway, and just I think Nugent-Hopkins, I'm expecting a decent game from him, and that's what I've noticed as of late. So that's the biggest takeaway, I guess. It's looking for a big game from number 93.
I like it. Lineups for this afternoon's tilt down in Seattle. McDavid between Draisaitl and Hyman. Nugent-Hopkins with Kane and Janmark. McLeod between Fogle and Perry. Ryan centering Holloway and Brown. On defense for Edmonton, no changes. Nurse, Ceci, Ekholm, Bouchard, Kulak, Desharnais. They only have 16 men on the roster. And that has been the case for the majority of the season. No Sam Gagner this afternoon. As for Seattle, no Andrei Burakovsky, no Riker Evans, no Pierre-Edouard Bellemare. Looks like Beniers between McCann and Eberle, Wenberg with Schwartz and Bjorkstrand, Yetny Gord with Tolvanen and Karche, Yamamoto with Tatar and Tanev. On defense, Vince Dunn with Larson, Jamie Alexiak with Will Borgen. I like Will Borgen. I said that last time. We talked about it. And then he got lit up a couple of times, and then he had a couple of really good shifts, and I was like, ooh. Yeah, but he's a good, hard-nosed defenseman. Big guy, American. I like him. That's a guy that I would try to get, but I think Seattle very much has him in the plans.
Yeah, you brought him up the last game that they played, and he was one player my eyes were glued to, and there's a lot of really good plays. He's a really solid, very under the radar player, but he's a stud.
I like Will Borgen. The last pairing on defense for the Kraken, Dumoulin with Schultz. Jay Schultz, former Oiler. Skinner and Grubauer are the tendies today as we watch these two teams close out the season series. Edmonton, 5 straight wins versus Seattle, 8-2 all-time versus the Kraken. since they came into the National Hockey League. The Oilers won 4-1 in Seattle back on November 11th, and then they followed that up with a 4-3 win here in Edmonton 4 days later on the 15th. And then January 18th, it was a 4-2 Oilers victory. Today, we'll see how it all plays out. One more time, we dip into the nasty chat, see how everyone's doing over there. Duck Dad says, Will Borgen reminds me of a young Stu Barnes. Right? Right, Duck Dad? All right. Spoon Dagger says Gagne is supposed to be the fourth line center. I had Ryan from yesterday's practice, but is he in? I didn't see anything. Let me double check that right now to make sure. Maybe that's changed. No, it's still Ryan between Holloway and Brown. So no Gagne. That came from Tony, who's in Seattle, and tweeted it 19 minutes ago. Tony B from Oilers TV. Him and Paige Martin doing great work over there. Shout out to both of them. So no, Gagne is not playing center on the fourth line. Boom. Boom. All right. That's going to do it. It's been a fun, we've been on the air for like 4 hours.
It's been, this has been good. It's been steady.
Are you giggling at that, Gager? Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Well, guess what, pal? You're going to be on the air on the post-game show, Walking Gage in studio, watching F1, and will join us to watch the game here at the EST Global HQ. Trev, good job today. You just crushing it.
Likewise.
You're my star.
Oh,
you're
thanks,
my
buddy.
Damon Bunting Remax Elite Player of the Game already.
Wow. Thank you. Yeah, that was it's good. It's busy mornings, but I like it. I like being busy, so it was fun. And I'm learning a lot more as we go on. And it was sweet. It was a good morning. Very productive.
Kicking ass.
Yes.
Big thank you to Corey B, who's a nasty, brought us some Buddy Burgers and keeping us fueled up for the game and the post-game show. Huge shout out to him. He was with you guys at the show last night. A big thank you to Mike Benton from the Kraken Audio Network as well, as we get set to say goodbye. For now, for Shawn Belle and YouTube Trev, I'm Tom Gazzola saying thanks for watching. Thanks for texting. Thanks for listening. You know we appreciate you. Oilers and Kraken. Can the Oilers sweep the season series? We will find out shortly. Catch you on the postgame show. Ciao for now.